Hey everyone, Lee here. I think that it would be cool if I did a thing that was just for entertainment value, not really like me going off on any tangent or making people think the way that I think. Just, I got the Kiss albums when they first came out, the 1978 solo albums. So I thought it would be kind of cool to share with you my thoughts about what happened when they came out and what I thought of them. Now, back then, I was around 13 years old. So I was getting an allowance, and usually I got an album a week. If I had enough money to get a second album, I might get a second album, or if the album wasn't that expensive, then maybe I could save up, and then one week I got one album, one week I got two, depending upon what album it was and the price. But I went to the record store and I suddenly saw 4 albums from each member of Kiss, and I had known that they were going to be doing that. I had no clue that there would be any solo albums from them, but I remember having solo albums from groups and members from the groups in the past, so I knew exactly what it was, and I was very surprised to find all 4 of them in a row on the new releases. I was like, wow. It would be like a guy who wanted to try every single cheese that he could, and he said that he would buy all the different kinds of cheeses that were in the store, but it ended up being 100 different kinds, and he's like, wow, that's a little bit more than I can spend. So I wasn't able to get all 4 albums on that day, but I knew that if I got 2 of them on one day, then maybe I could get the other 2 very close later if I told my parents that this is Kiss and all 4 members got solo albums, so please can I have a little more money? So I had bought Aces and Jeans first. I bought Aces because even though he sang on Shock Me, and I knew his sound from that and the stuff that he wrote before it, and I liked his guitar sound, his stuff was still kind of a mystery to me because he didn't write as much as Gene or Paul. So I thought it would be interesting to see what his sounded like, but I had an idea it would be pretty heavy. And then with Gene's album, I thought, well, he's one of my favorite songwriters in Kiss, so of course this is going to be a heavy album. And then I listened to them. And with Aces, Rip It Out was really pretty good. And Speeding Back to My Baby I really liked a lot too. And Snowblind, also really cool song. Ozone was awesome, like wow, great song. What's on Your Mind I didn't really love. I thought, well, okay, I knew that with albums there would be tracks sometimes that weren't quite as good as others. I thought, okay, the New York Groove, I wasn't really a big fan of it. I thought, well, it's a cover tune, and it's probably going to be the song that he's going to want to be a hit. So I understood the marketing strategy to that. And then I'm in Need of Love. I really liked that song a lot. And I really also liked Wiped Out. I thought that was an interesting and complex song. And Fractured Mirror wasn't really my bag. I didn't love it. But I appreciated the different guitar sounds, and I knew that it was layered well. So I sometimes still heard it just because it had a lot of guitars from Ace. So I might hear it for that reason. But it wasn't my favorite song. Then I heard Gene's album. I decided that I would hear Gene's after Ace's because I thought if Ace's album is good, Gene's will be really good. So I put it on and I hear this laughter, ha 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 ha, and I hear this introduction, and I thought, what is this? This is like weird movie music. It's like smoke and mirrors to something like a chef who's twirling the plate of food in his hand before he puts it on your plate. You're like, can you hurry up and give me something? I felt like it was sort of a overblown introduction. I thought, okay, come on already and get to the song. And then when the song came on, Radioactive, I thought, you mean I waited all this time for this? And it wasn't horrible, but it was far from being anything that I thought the album would be. And then Burning Up with Fever, not great, not horrible, at least not worse than Radioactive. So maybe I had some hopes that it would get better. And then See You Tonight, an acoustic song, I really didn't care for it. I thought, oh, what sort of album is Gene doing here? It's not the album that I thought I was getting. And then Tunnel of Love was sort of like a narcotic where you just don't think anything. It didn't really offend me, nor did it impress me. It was more like the flavor of water. It didn't have any flavor at all. But at least it didn't make me think yuck. It just didn't really make me think. And then True Confessions, the women's vocals did kind of ruin the song for me a little bit, but I mean, at least the band was playing kind of heavy a little bit. So I thought it had potential, but it wasn't really great. But probably out of all of the songs off of side one, it was okay. It was probably the best song off of side one because at least they played well. But the song itself I didn't like. So all in all, the first 5 songs off of side one were not at all anything that I would want to hear. And then side 2 was Living in Sin, which was an okay song. It wasn't great, but it sounded like a second-rate Kiss song. And I thought, well, at least it's bearable. this is middle of the road. It's good enough. So far, the best song on the album. And then Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide. Oh, geez. I knew the direction the album would continue to go now with this snooze fest. And then I forget whether Mr. Make-Believe comes before Man of a Thousand Faces, but either way, I'll still talk about both songs. Man of a Thousand Faces, nah. I had heard about the song a long time. Gene said that he wanted to put it on a Kiss album. He said, this is a song that means a lot to me, and I really want people to hear it. And then when he put it on, I went, Gene, you hyped a crap song. And Mr. Make-Believe, no. Another snooze fest. But then they have See You in Your Dreams, which I liked the Rock and Roll Over version better, but I thought, okay, this rocks pretty well. This is actually a good song. One good song and another okay song on the album. So then it finishes with When You Wish Upon a Star. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? This really doesn't surprise me. It starts with this stupid Disney fake horror film introduction, and it concludes with this Disney song. You know what? It kind of numbed me. It gave me the same sort of blank feeling as Tunnel of Love. It wasn't good or bad. I just was in a blank state, like, how are you doing today, Mr. Gerstmann? I'm like that. So, yeah, I thought this was kind of not great. So then I forget if it was 1 or 2 days later, but I then got Paul's album and Peter's album. I think I was able to convince my parents to give me enough money so that I could get the other 2 albums, because I said, it's 4 albums in a row. They all belong together. I need all 4. And they were like, well, we know how much you love Kiss. So, okay, here's a few more dollars in order to get the albums. So I got them. And I think I heard Peter's first. Just because whatever Paul's was like, and I wasn't sure what Paul's would be like, I thought, I'll leave the mystery to be the last album. I figured that Peter's would be a combination of things that I liked and didn't like. Because he did a combination of things that I liked in Kiss and things I didn't. So, I figured at least some of it would be good. And some of it was. Songs like, well, I'm Gonna Love You. I thought that was all right. And then You Matter to Me. No. And then Tossing and Turning. Yeah, I liked that one. I thought that was good. And then Don't You Bring Me Down. No. And That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes. Yeah, I like that one. And then Easy Thing. Rock Me Baby. Yeah. Kiss the Girl Goodbye. No. Hooked on Rock and Roll. Yeah. I Can't Stop the Rain. No. So it's like one good song, one bad song, one good song, one bad song, all the way through. At least it was better than Gene's. But the worst songs on Peter's were worse than the worst songs on Jeans. But the best songs on Peters were better than the best songs on Jeans. So it was okay. And then I heard Paul's album, and it was all right. It was definitely better than Jeans and somewhat better than Peters, but it really wasn't quite as good as Aces. But song by song, Tonight You Belong to Me, I wasn't a fan of his songs that start acoustic and then they get heavy. I figured it was sort of too dramatic. Like, why don't you just get into the song? Why do you have to start with this acoustic stuff? And so I thought, oh, okay. It starts with an acoustic song, but the song was all right. Wasn't great, wasn't horrible, but it was all right. And then Move On was an okay song. I didn't love it, but I liked it. It was a decent song. It didn't sound like a Kiss song, but it sounded like a Paul Stanley song, and it sounded like an all right song. And then Not Quite or Ain't Quite Right, I wasn't really a big fan of it. It was sort of a sleeper song for me, but quite a bit better than the sleeper songs off of Gene's albums. And then Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, I liked it. I thought it was one of the better songs on the album, but it had kind of a 50s style, like the soundtrack to Grease kind of pop sound that sort of bugged me a little bit. But it was probably the best song so far off of side one, and I did like it. And then Take Me Away, Together as One had the same sort of introduction that was sort of acoustic sounding before it got heavy. And so I thought that that was just another way of Paul being dramatic. But I did like the song when it did get heavy, and I thought the musicianship was really good. So yeah, that was a pretty good song. And then side two, It's All Right, was fantastic. It was the best song of the whole 4 albums so far. You know, it was wonderful. And so I was like, this album was worth it for this song itself. And then Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We Were Apart was blah. And then Love and Change was pretty good. Not quite as good as It's All Right, but it was still a pretty good rocker, and I did like it. And then Goodbye was also pretty good. It was maybe not quite as good as Love and Chains, but you could tell that it was sort of like Love and Chains' younger brother. It was still going through the motions and was still all right. So those are my memories of the Kiss albums. I'll recap and say I thought Aces was pretty good. Pretty damn good, mostly. And that Gene's, except for maybe 1.5 songs, was a complete snooze fest. Peters was like half and half good and half not. And Paul's was decent, not great, except for one really great song, which beat all of the other songs off of the other albums. So there you have it. I will say it was cool back then to get them, because you never knew what might happen if you saw 4 albums together. Okay, take care. Bye.